Good to be back in the rig, going down the road with you folks. Kind of missed hanging out. We're going to get a chance to do a lot of things today. We're going to get a chance to talk about updates in regards to North Dakota COVID cases. We're going to get a chance to visit with Charlie Johnson. Where are we at when it comes to tourism, conventions, all of those things? You might remember Charlie, a longtime TV news anchor, now working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau in the Fargo-Moorhead area. But this is a neat story. This is a really neat story. I was up in Park River recently. In fact, it was last week, and had a chance to visit with some folks that, in my opinion, did something amazing. Now, for you small towns listening right now that lost your grocery store, for you small towns that are sitting there trying to find ways to move products at a better price, pay attention to what you're about to hear. Diana Hahn is, an innovator and somebody who is involved with the co-op, the RAD co-op, which I think is a really cool name. Let's bring her in and get a chance to visit with Diana. Diana, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me today, Joel.
All right, tell people what RAD is, what it stands for.
So RAD is Rural Access Distribution Cooperative. So it wasn't all totally my brainchild. I thank you for trying to give me credit totally. But this started off quite a few years ago with Lori Sapu and the North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperative, some work that she was doing, trying to figure out why are we losing our small town grocery stores? Why are there so many that have been closing up? Why are there so many that are in need of some help? And so it's come a long time. It's been about 5 years in the making. Finally getting to the point where RAD has started. We are a fully licensed, registered co-op with the state of North Dakota. And we're now starting to do distribution from our store to two other smaller grocery stores, only about 15 miles away from us, to Hoople Grocery in Hoople, North Dakota, and to Market on Main in Edinburgh, North Dakota. That's the first step that we're starting to take in trying to get them better prices, better access to more foods, especially healthy foods, and keep those small towns not only continuing to move forward and thrive rather than just sitting there idle or losing their people because of lack of access to good food.
Now, Diana and her husband Randy are owners of Jim's Supervalu, which, by the way, is her father. Who I couldn't get to talk into coming on the radio with me the other day, but he would have been fun to have on. I'm just saying that. But Diana, I know that buying in a bigger pool, more in bulk, I get that. It's going to save a lot of people a lot of money. But to me, one of the stories in this is the fact that these towns got together. Because right now, let's be honest, some of these towns were coming to Jim's Supervalu to do their shopping. And I just think it's amazing that you're all helping each other out because your place has been a destination spot for everybody for years. And I want to get to how this is going to work. Obviously, you mentioned the two other places that have grocery stores and that power of purchasing. But there's an involvement here from stores that are from towns that don't have a grocery store. So walk people through how that's going to work.
Yep, so that's the next steps that'll be coming along. We will be placing online ordering system into our store, which right now we don't have even for just our regular customers. But we will be having an online ordering system. And then you will be able to go online, place your order through our store, but two other towns to the south and the west of us, Adams, North Dakota, and Fordville, North Dakota, will have in place, we're hoping sometime after the first of the year, a locker system where you can have shelf-stable product, refrigerated product, and frozen product put away in lockers and waiting for your arrival. So they will go online, order from our store. We then will deliver it to those lockers. Those customers will receive an online code. They can drive up to that locker at their convenience within 24 hours after that order's been put in those lockers. Put the code in, the doors pop open, they take their order out and go home. So it's a convenience of not having to drive a minimum of 15 to 20 miles to get access to groceries, because those two towns do not have grocery stores in them now. One has a small convenience store, So this is the perfect area to do this. And once again, we happen to be in the center of all of this. All these towns are 15 to 20 miles away from Park River. So it just really worked out well to have a nice central hub and be able to provide this. Not everybody is able to drive after work or wants to spend an hour driving somewhere. So this is a great way to get them access to food without actually putting in a store in those towns, which the towns just, it's small enough that it just wouldn't be feasible to do that.
I don't want to be stereotypical here, Diana, but I grew up in a small town of 100 people, which has less people now than it did when I was living there as a kid with 100 people. So, a lot of those homes had little old ladies in them. They had lost their husband. Women live longer than men, I'm sorry. But those little old ladies couldn't get groceries. They couldn't. And so they'd find out you were going to get groceries, and they'd get word to you, can you get this or can you get that? And they weren't meant to drive anymore. This is going to solve a lot of that, Diana. And, of course, you and I both know winter. Winter's already struck now, and it taught us what it was like to be on those icy roads. The point I'm trying to make is you must be getting some feedback on people who this is going to make a real difference in their life.
Yeah, I think it will work out well. And I know we've been asked about, well, what about the little lady that doesn't know how to use the internet or can't use the internet? Well, this is something that their son or daughter or niece or whomever could be doing for them. Get on the phone with them, find out what they need, and they place the order for them. Even if they're using mom's credit card or, whatever to pay for the order, it's something you could be doing. And then mom only can drive a few blocks across town, because there's many older people that maybe don't drive out of town, but they drive within their own towns now, just because of their own wanting to do that or not. But so this would make it, I think there's many ways that we can make this work for people. Yep, it's going to take some ingenuity maybe as we go along. There might be some learning curves with it. We're hoping after we get things up and running, we can go to some of these small towns and go to their senior centers and sit down with them and show them how it works, or show them how they would place an order online. And you're right, Joel. I have many customers that come in from these outlying towns that they're picking up. They'll get 3 transactions because they're getting this one for this neighbor and this for this neighbor, all because of what the driving does. And whether it's time or it's money or it's the inability to drive, any of those. And that just keeps making our small towns get smaller when we don't have those services in those small towns that people need.
So 2 points here. The towns with grocery stores, which, as you pointed out, is pretty much phase 1. Okay, you buy in bulk, things comes to Jim Supervalu. That product then can get to the 2 smaller grocery stores, and now they got it at a cheaper price and they can charge less. I get it. I understand it. How does that product get from your place to the smaller stores? Because a big part of that is shipping as well. And so if the main distributor that's coming to your store doesn't have to hit those smaller stores, you've saved money. How do you get it from your store to those 2 other grocery stores?
So our RAD Co-op has purchased a refrigerated small truck. It's not huge. It's one you don't need a CDL to drive. I actually can get in and drive it. Haven't done that yet, hoping I don't have to, but I can if I have to. Yeah. But we will, and it will come to our store. We'll load it onto that truck, and then it'll get delivered out from there on that truck. And all of this has been made possible by a lot of grant money that we've received. Then that's why we're a pilot project, is we're trying to find out if this would work and at how much money would need to be expended, and you yet still would cash flow this. So it's been exciting to do. It's been a lot of work for a lot of people. I'm not the only one involved in this. There's a great group that's been working on this, and it's so far I think we're proving that it's working. It's a matter though of we'd like to bring on more than just our main supplier into the works, such as some of your Coke, your Pepsi, your chips, your milk, your whatever. And the more we can get on that program, the better those stores are going to have. They're going to have, better pricing, more options of who they can buy from. And that also will help keep that truck full and keep that truck going out on the road.
Diana, the whether or not a small town, and I'm sorry, but Park River, it's smaller than Grand Forks, it's smaller than Grafton, and it's about Well, it's bigger than my town of Hankinson, I believe, population-wise. But, those towns, are faithful and loyal at times, too. I mean, when I did the radio show from your grocery store, it was steady. I mean, there were people coming in just, I was amazed at how many people were coming through the door. And it wasn't just because News and Views was doing a radio show there. They just coming to get groceries. And of course, your husband's meat department, the butcher shop he's running in back, that's a big part of it as well. Are you able to utilize that energy, that product that Randy has, and get that distributed as well?
At this time, we can't because our store, even though we're state inspected, obviously, by the health department and the Department of Ag, we're not considered, we're at a custom level. We need to move up to a level of state inspection. To do that, there'd have to be some significant remodels. So right now, we're only licensed to sell that meat through our own store. But hopefully, that's something that maybe is in the works down the road. I know the state's working on, under the inspection program, trying to get some things worked out where maybe we would be able to do that. We've talked about even being able to cut steaks out of federally inspected beef and then being able to send them to these smaller stores. So right now, that's not a possibility, but we're hoping maybe one day down the road that we will be able to do that.
Well, I got to tell you, that ticks me off. It does. It's upsetting in the fact that you got a good quality product. We're talking about inspection. People are coming to buy it in one place, and now we're sitting there saying that from a state or federal standpoint that we can't meet a certain criteria when everybody knows it's a good product and the product's safe. There's no common sense there. So 1-800, call your congressman or your senator and try to get some of that changed. Diana, what is it about the grocery business that people really don't understand? That, it's one thing to come and buy your toilet paper, your milk, your eggs, all of those things, but people really don't understand when it comes to the business side of it.
I think a lot of people think that food, that there's this high profit margin in food, and there's not. I'm not saying there isn't somewhere along the way, but we're at the bottom of the food chain, right above the consumer. It's already been handled by so many people by the time it gets to us. It's handled by whether it's the ag person or the rancher. It's then sent on a truck. It's handled at a manufacturing place. There's more to going into the cost of food than just the food itself. Right now, the containers, they're saying that's one of our biggest rise in prices is the plastics and the aluminum cans that we're putting items in, or the glass, or whatever it may be. And that's one more thing that's adding to our food supply issues right now, is not only labor, it's not only transportation, it's the containers, which I'm sure is a lot of what those companies are dealing with too, is for transportation and labor costs. Well, but there's so many moving parts into this.
Yeah, I was walking around your grocery store visiting with everybody that I possibly could, and I visited with one of your individuals that helps in checkout and other places stocking, and I asked her, I said, how long you been working here? She said since high school. And I think that she was pretty proud of the fact that she was still working there and doing the job she did. But that still begs another question. How hard is it to find workers like her?
Oh, it's horrible right now. Getting people to be there and to stay is tough. The group that I have, I'm extremely lucky. I've got a good core group now that have all been with me for not as long as she has. She's been there a long time, but most of them now have at least been with me for a couple of years, if not longer. So they've learned enough. They know enough about the business that's great. But man, finding those last few good people that will stay, that will show up for work, that do the job that I don't have to worry about, that's where everything is falling apart in this whole system today, is finding that. I know our son is struggling with that at the bakery too. He's had to reduce hours. We've reduced services. There's things that just aren't going to happen in this world if we can't get employees.
Well, you took away my thunder there because I wanted to mention your son at the bakery, who, by the way, one heck of a tell people what time he goes to work every day.
He starts by midnight. And he's done, of course, then he's done by 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. But then he goes home to sleep for a while. But yeah, he's one of the last actual true scratch bakeries in the state of North Dakota that we know of. There are a few, but there are not very many. And And that means he's not getting in donuts that are pre-made somewhere else and just baking them off and frosting them. He's actually getting up. There's raw materials. There's very little preservatives put into it. Pretty much everything he makes that day goes in the garbage, and he starts all over again at midnight the next day.
That's just amazing. By the way, you're not going to get a lot of grandkids that way. You know that, right? I mean,
no. That's a good thing we already have 4 from a couple of our other kids, because that might be it.
Diana, thanks for what you do. I think it's amazing, the co-op you've put together. I think all the work that went into this is going to pay off. And the most important thing for me is all of those towns that are watching this right now have an example of what they can do if they collectively work together. And I think that's a big part of it as well. So thanks for what you're doing. Say hi to Randy for me.
I will do. Thanks for having me, Joel.